Welcome to the Magdalene Voices, giving voice to those silenced for centuries through sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls. I am your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Maria Saraphina. I serve experienced, soul-driven, heart-based spiritual entrepreneurs, business owners, Magdalene's Rising, and radiant beings just like you with the expansion and growth of yourself and your business. Aligning you with your deep inner truth, bringing to life that which you're here to birth, and supporting you in expressing your soul's divine purpose through your being and your doing in this lifetime. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to join my newsletter to stay connected and updated. You can do so on my website, mariasarafina.com, where you can also find previous episodes and their show notes. And if you have ever wondered about your Magdalene connection and calling and whether you are a Magdalene, I invite you to download the free Magdalene Blueprint I've created for you. Go to mariasarafina.com/AYM to get it. Also, if you're a soul-driven, heart-based spiritual entrepreneur, check out my show and podcast, Spiritual Business with Maria Saraphina. It's designed to inspire you, empower you, guide you, nurture you, and activate you. You can find it on YouTube as well as everywhere podcasts are being broadcasted, or click the link in the show notes. As always, I encourage you to listen with an open heart and an open mind and take only what serves you and leave the rest. Here is today's episode. Hello, Radiant One, and a very big and a very warm welcome into this episode of the Magdalene Voices. I want to start by saying that I have been, I don't want to say dreading this episode, but you know how when you know that you've made the right decision, but you still kind of dread putting it out there? You know that it's right. You can feel it within every cell of your being that it is resonating and aligned, and yet still there's that, I don't know if it's dread, but that trepidation of actually putting it out there, making it public or official. And that's how I feel about this episode. There's also some I don't know if it's sadness or sorrow, but it's coupled with a whole bunch of gratitude. With all of that said, you're probably wondering what the heck is going on and why I'm saying all of these things. And the reason that I'm saying all this is because, as you may have noticed or seen, the title of this episode is called Endings and New Beginnings, or something like that. I may come up with another fancy title before it actually gets out there. And that is because over the past, I want to say 6 to 8 months, there is something that has been stirring within me. And it was truly started back in April when I had a download that I've shared about, and I'll be sharing more about that later on. But something new was asking to be born through me. Something new was asking to come through me, or I was being asked to be used in a different way that I have been in the past or previously. And being human, resistance is part of the course. And there is that wondering of what is really going on. Is this right? Do I want to do this? And all these things. And me being who I am, I allow things to stir and simmer, and until that moment when they are true or so aligned that you cannot ignore it any longer. And for me, that came, I want to say last week-ish, when I had a very clear download about my path forward. And when I say my path forward, I mean my path forward with the Magdalene Voices, as well as the other podcasts that I have, the Spiritual Business. If you have walked with me for a while, you may know that back a year ago, I actually thought I was scaling back and was instead given the message of a different podcast of another show, and it didn't feel right to be within the Magdalene Voices. And so the Spiritual Business Show and Podcast was born, which is where I've been sharing a lot from my work as a spiritual business coach, and now EAM mentor, as well as catalyst and facilitator for the most brilliant, ravingly just unbelievable dream clients. And that has been such a joy and a pleasure as well. However, like I said, for the past long while, there has been something that has been stirring within me. And so, as you may have noticed, there's not been a whole lot of episodes. There's not been a whole lot of communication from me, really, because I've allowed that to stir. Of course, that is coupled with us being in the middle of a pandemic, unlike the which we, at least in our current times, have never ever seen, meaning the world has completely shifted or changed, and things have been different, at least for a very long time. So with that said, and I don't know if I've said it already, sorry, because I'm still in that moment. So what that means for me is that something new again has been asked to be born through me. And what that then means is that the Magdalene Voices, there will be don't want to say no new episodes, but for now, at least, what I am getting, the message, the things that I want to move forward with, it feels like I was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And if you try that, you know that doesn't work. It felt like I wanted to incorporate both everything that I share with you in the Magdalene Voices and everything that I share with you in the spiritual business. I wanted to somehow find a way to couple that so that you wouldn't be inundated with a million episodes every week or every month, and also so that I could be more clear and direct in the direction and the path and the work that I share. So like I said, that means that for now, and maybe that's just me not really wanting to say goodbye, I don't know. But for now, there's not going to be any more new episodes, at least, of the Magdalene Voices coming out. I didn't even look over how many there actually is. I believe it's more than 60. And I want to go back to the beginning. When I first started the Magdalene Voices 3 years ago, I had no idea that I would be standing here today now with more than 60 episodes. And I looked at the stats, and there is more than 42,000 views or listens across all platforms, which to me is kind of unreal that is the breadth of the work and what I, together with the brilliant, amazing, radiant beings that I've been very, very honored to hold space for in sacred conversations with here on this show. And I don't know if you know this, but I wanted to go back to the beginning and let you know, so in case you didn't know this. So the Magdalene Voices was born out of my latest dark night of the soul. In 2016, I was going through a really dark night where I had realized that while my essence, my divine feminine had risen, my gnosis, my knowledge, my intuition was clear, it was receptive, it was strengthened and awoken and risen, my Magdalene had risen, then my doing, meaning my communication, my marketing, my sales, all of that was not from that space. And so for a very long time, I refused to do anything. Being is in the realm of the feminine, doing is in the realm of the masculine. And I refused to do anything because I understood that what I was doing was out of resonance with who I am and who I was. And so Um, Not doing anything for a long time is not something I recommend if you want to stay in business. But that's what I did. And I was fortunate enough to still be able to hold space for clients. I just did not really do a whole bunch of other stuff. And through that, in the beginning of 2017, I had a major download based on some books that I read and some information that I received and wisdom and just intuitive knowledge. I had a major download about the divine feminine and the divine masculine essences, as well as their shadow essences as well, or shadow aspects as well. Things that I've shared about in other episodes many times. And I want to make it clear once again, when I'm talking about the masculine and the feminine essences, I'm not talking about women or men. I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about the polarities that we very often associate. And because we're living in a world of duality, then that's what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about men or women. I'm talking about feminine and masculine. That was in beginning of 2017, and that was how Are You a Magdalene? The Magdalene Blueprint was born, and all of those questions and the workbook. I'll leave a link to that as well. If you haven't purchased that, I would highly recommend it. It's a really, really good, solid tool for you to uncover part of your Magdalene essence, or your Magdalene nature, or your Magdalene heritage or lineage, or whatever we want to call it. And then in the spring of 2017, I was fortunate enough to have a partnership with a magnificent and brilliant woman, Trisha McCannon, who was also the first guest on the Magdalene Voices, who heard me throw, she listened to me throw my toys out of the pram and being all like, I don't know what to do, and blah, blah, blah. I was all, a toddler, essentially. And she said to me, why don't you do a radio show or a TV show? You can do that. And me being me, and maybe you've heard me say this before, I was very like, no, I want this to be about me, and I don't want, and then I went, not home, but I think the next day or the same night, it was just like one of those moments where it's like clarity. It was like, OMG, I am going to do a TV radio show, and it's going to be called the Magdalene Voices. It was crystal clear, to the point where it's only ever happened, I think, one time before, and that was when I knew that I was born to be a coach and a guide and a catalyst and a facilitator, back in 2010, almost 10 years ago, when I realized that was what I was here to do. And so I knew in that moment, with that crystal clear clarity, that I was going to do a show. And I did. And I sent out invitations. And I was so blessed that literally everyone that I invited onto the show said yes and came in to join me in sacred conversation. And throughout that, it evolved into me both having guest episodes as well as having solo episodes. And so here we are, 3 years later, 42,000 views and listens later, and it has been such a joy and a pleasure and an honor, really, to be able to grace your ears with the wisdom that has been imparted on me, and to share these brilliant, magnificent voices with you. And like I said, it's also for a long while, and I want to say Easter. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because the new stuff is coming out soon, or soon-ish, and I'm going to share a lot more about that birth and that where that comes out. I'm just checking to see if there's anything that I want to share. I want to share that it's, part of the evolution, and like I said, endings and new beginnings. It's just to be very clear, I'm not going away. I'm not going anywhere. It's just another expansion or growth or evolution of me, of my work. And in order to do that, it's just become more and more clear that I but there's a different frequency and vibration with which that has been wanting to come through. And I also mentioned trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. That did not work. If you've ever tried it. And then I want to share that because right now, at the time of this recording, we're smack in the middle of Mercury retrograde. So what better time really to be rethinking, rebranding, reminding, all of the re's really. And it's so obvious that this is why this is happening now. And I also want to give you the opportunity to hold space for yourself really in that. Is that where are you holding on potentially out of, I don't know if it's fear, because I haven't felt like I've been holding on to the Magdalene Voices through fear. I just didn't know what was coming. And to be able to hold yourself through that, unknowing the space of, I've called it the void, where I had no idea what was coming. And being able to allow yourself to be in that space of stillness and of silence and not having to force an answer through because that's what you're supposed to do, but really allowing yourself to just be in that space of, I don't know. And also being in integrity and alignment and authenticity, because I could have continued putting out episodes. I could have continued sharing stuff, even though it didn't resonate with me. And that's actually not true. I couldn't have done that because my integrity and my authenticity and my alignment is so high that that's beyond me. And sometimes that's actually almost detrimental to being very open and forthcoming here. But sometimes that can be even almost detrimental because why would I walk away from something that's really good and something that has had that quote unquote level of success? I do that because I am moving to another stage or another level. The Magdalene still walks with me. The Magdalenes are still very present, and they are going to be part of my work as well moving forward. That's not, I'm not sure that they're ever going to leave me. I still serve the Magdalene Rising because I see how magnificent that awakening and that rising is. I see how much you being a Magdalene Rising serves the world, having moved from your mind into your heart and living and being and doing from that space is such a satisfying experience. It's such a satisfying, gratifying, I don't know if experience is the right word, but seeing how more and more of us are choosing to resonate from that frequency of love. And if you know anything about me, you know that when I am talking about love, I'm not talking about butterflies and rainbows and unicorns and all that, even though I do love all that. I'm talking about the real love that will understands that you are the most powerful transmuter of that which is not of love. I've shared my own journey with love many times, and how we as spiritual, I was gonna say spiritual leaders, although that doesn't necessarily resonate with me, but just as I said that, there was a bird that was flying into my window, and I don't know what the significance of that means. However, I'm gonna say I'm choosing to take that as a sign of like, wake up. For me, when I say spiritual leaders, I mean both of our own individual path and also as are part of the collective. So when it comes to love, we as spiritual beings having a human experience work not solely for our own elevation. We work for the elevation of all. And that includes justice and truth. It includes anti-racist training. It includes speaking out against homophobia or xenophobia or religious persecution in any way, shape, or form. And I also understand that wherever you may be on your path is difficult in the beginning. And I'm not trying to cuddle. I understand my privilege and my power as a white spiritual woman. And I also understand that it took me a while, even though I am someone who is outspoken. I am someone who is deeply committed to truth and justice. I, in my own path, have seen how that has taken me some time. So we have to, the way that I view it, it's not even we have to, we and especially if you consider yourself to be a Magdalene rising, and if we look at the historic Magdalenes and what they did at that time, they were outspoken and they spoke truth to power and demanded justice for all and all of those things. I think I've been very clear about that. So I'm just checking in to see if there's anything else that wants to come through. I can feel that I can feel still a little bit of heaviness in terms of this, because it's despite it being, I know that this is true with every part of my being. It's also, there's some sadness in saying goodbye to what I have built and created over these past 3-ish years. But I also know that I am moving forward and we are moving forward. I really, really hope that you will join me on the next in the next chapter. I can't wait to share with you what has been coming through, because it is it is on a whole nother level. It's the evolution, and I wouldn't be where I am today had I not gone through the last 3 years with the Magdalene Voices and with you as a viewer or a listener. I wouldn't have been here where I am today, and so that is brings me such I'm so grateful for that, and it also gives me such a joy to hope and know maybe that you will be walking with me on this next evolution of it. So that is what I had for you in this episode. Well, number 1, the Magdalene Voices will most likely have no new episodes. Number 2, it's not going away. So you can still watch and view you can watch the episodes on YouTube. You can listen to the podcast wherever you are listening to your podcast right now. I do hope that you will share the episode still far and wide with all your friends. I hope that you will leave a review, whether it be on iTunes or wherever you may be, because the wisdom that lives, one of the things that I've always shared with my guests is that the transmissions that we share in the episodes and the transmissions that I've shared in these episodes really are timeless. And I trust divine timing. So whenever you find this, that will be the right time for you. So please take a moment to rate it on iTunes, leave a comment or a review for it wherever you're listening or watching to it. That is how the frequency and the vibration of it is shared. And stay tuned, because I am going to share soon some more about the next phase or the next chapter. Yes. I'm not going to say anything about it today. So I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for having walked with me through these past 3 years, an X amount of episodes, because I don't know how long you walk with me. But thank you so much for being here. Sending you so much love wherever you might be in the world. Take care. That is what I had for you in today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. I hope it served you well. If you're listening to this via podcast, know that there's a link to my website, mariasaraphina.com, in the show notes, and you can go there for all the deeds and the details. Finally, I hope that you will take a moment to either leave a comment or a review or share it with a friend or on social media if you feel that it served you.